Hi guys, it's Evelyn again. I'm back. This is part 2 of the recycled fairy house, and I'm gonna finish up this picture. Hopefully, I will finish up this picture. And I am working with the green that I'm working with is felt green, and I'm step back, Evelyn. This is a beautiful an adorable image by Emily Illustrator. This was an Etsy purchase. She only sells her images on Etsy. And it's a PDF file, so you can print it on whatever paper. I am using Nina paper, 65-pound cardstock, and I am using Derwent Inktense for the first time for an entire picture. So I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out, but we're going for it. In the last stream, I did the flower, the cup. I added a rainbow in honor of Amazon Tammy's hashtag for June, and we will continue on, and I'm going to use the same green that I used in these leaves for these little plants here. And this is felt green, which I just think is an awesome color. It's a personal favorite of mine, and hopefully I can do this with relatively ease, where I'm not making a major mess out of this. Little fern type stuff. I guess I should have used fern green, but I can use fern green for highlights and stuff. There it goes. I'm using I do have water brushes that I could brushes that have the water in the handle, but I have a tendency to squeeze and get way too much water out with those, so I am electing to use regular brushes on this. Although if I want the brush size that I have, I don't have all the brush sizes. These brushes the brush I'm using is inexpensive. I got them off of Amazon, and it's a flat brush. It's, as I said, I figured I'm not going to invest in real expensive brushes until I know whether this is something I'm going to do on a regular basis. I just, to buy real expensive brushes at this point is, to me, would be a little arrogant and a waste of money. So I know expensive brushes can make a difference. I totally and completely realize that. I'm going to put down a little bit more of this color. I'm putting it next to where I've got the color already on my palette. I have discovered that putting the color on a palette and then bringing it over the picture seems to work best for me. I have seen it done where people where color with the pencil and then just spread it out. I tried that on the upper cup, and it just was not giving me what I wanted out with it. So I decided to use the palette and to add more color where I wanted, and this seems to be working much better for me personally. That's the one thing about coloring. Somebody will say, "Oh, well, this is the way you do it." Well, it's a way to do it, but is it a way that works for you? And there's no right or wrong way to use coloring mediums, not even colored pencils. You have to kind of find what works best for you. I'm a big advocate that if someone's trying to teach you something and they say, well, this is the only way you can do it, I have a rebellious tend to me that says, no, if it isn't working for me, that's not how I'm going to do it. Whenever I was younger, I dated a gentleman that ended up going on to be a professional bowler, and he was trying to teach me how to bowl, and he's like, no, this is the only way you can do it. And it's like, this did not work. What he was telling me to do just did not work for me, and I'm never going to be the bowler he is. He's at the local bowling thing, he's got several 300 games listed, which and he's awesome, and I have the utmost respect for him. But what he was trying to get me to do just didn't feel good for me, right for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why we broke up, is because he said, we kind of butted head over what works for me, and what works for him is not always the same. Plus, we were young, and he had ambitions, and that did not mesh with my ambitions. So, but it's the same thing in coloring. If somebody says, well, this is the way you do this, and it's not working for you, and you find something else, or you do it a little bit different and it works well with you, that's the way you need to do it. Don't ever let anyone dictate to you how you do your art. It just doesn't. Art is an expression of your inner creativity. And although this is coloring and people say, oh, that's not really art, yeah, it is. You're adding life to a picture. You're bringing personality to a picture, and that's what art is. And if you're not feeling what you're doing, if it's not working for you, then how can you bring light to a picture, bring life and that to a picture, if you're not liking, or you're not feeling comfortable with what you're doing? I went over the lines. Okay. That's the first layer of that. And I'm going to go with, okay, let's see, what color should I go with? What is this? Iron green, which is a really dark green, and my palette's getting, and it looks black on the palette, but it's not. It's a really dark green, because I want to add some contrast to these. And again, I'm going to use my water brush, but I'm not pushing down to get the water out of it. I find that I have very little control whenever I do that, so I don't want to do that. Okay. I'm going to turn my page. I say after I do it. I'm going to add some of this dark green. Add some vining. And these leaves. a little too much water going on here. And even with this Nina paper, it's starting to curl a little, but not as much as my swatch paper. Much better. Got rid of some of the water, and I'm getting a better, more with what I want as far as color saturation is. Here to some of these darker leaves, and put some binding in those. Although Emily did not put binding in these, I feel like these have little veins, I think they're called. Somebody can correct me if they know better. And they're usually of darker color than what the actual leaf is. What is it? This may turn out to be the most disastrous picture in the universe, I'll tell you. But I'm giving it a shot. I'm not an expert at Inktense by any stretch of the imagination. This is going to be a very simplistic picture whenever I get done. It's not going to have my signature shading or detail. But hey, it's a new to me medium, so I'm going for it. And I'm turning again. Adding a little detail in my picture is always a good thing. And this is not totally dry. I know I stopped the last video and that, but I thought I'm going to continue on. I'm going to do 2 videos back to back. That way, I can go ahead and finish this up in one day, because I have a really bad time with works in progress and going back to works in progress. I have a tendency to put them aside and not go back to them, and which is not the best plan of action. Or I get distracted by something else, and they kind of get lost in the shuffle in the back of my file folder. I found a work in progress the other day that apparently I started several years ago and totally and completely forgot about. Okay. Okay. It's in the same color, and yeah, I know I just cleaned my brush. Doing a little shading. squeeze. I still haven't decided what color I'm going to do the fairy door in. I can't make up my mind. Because in nature, there's blueberries, there's red raspberries, cherries, all kinds of red berries that you could paint a door, make an ink and paint a door. Yes, I'm trying to think of what would a fairy paint their door. But for some reason, so the question is, do I want it to be a girl fairy that has recycled this cup, or do I want it to be a boy fairy? Because I think a boy fairy would go with more the masculine colors, and the girl fairy would definitely goes with pinks and reds. So a little bit of the dark in the stem of this. Okay, let's leave it there. And I think I'm gonna go with a girl fairy, and I'm gonna go with Carmine Pink, which is a really pretty pink. The extra up here. And I can take my brush, drop a little water, mix a little of the Inktense in. Get a nice bright red door. Actually, it's a pink door, but it's a bright pink. Almost red. I can't draw a straight line to save my day, I tell ya. I'm trying to be straight, do a straight line. This is why I'm not a line artist. I don't draw, is because lines and that are not my forte. I have a tendency to bobble. Try to smooth that out. Yes. Some more color down, because I did not lay enough color down to do both doors. push that color up into the water. A little puddle of water here to thin it out, but not thin it out too much because I want it basically the same color as this door. And even going along the line here, I'm going over the lines. Oh my gosh, I'm a mess, but I'm a fun mess. And I'm showing you, you can fail and still come out the other side. Hopefully I don't fail too bad here, but as I said, I if I'm gonna fail, failing on a video is so much, to me, so much better than failing live. And if I was live, I'd be apologizing left and right and explaining the fact that I've never worked with these before and I'm horrible, and watercolor mediums that use water and I are not friends. But there's my door. Okay. Now, I've got these little berry things, and that's dry. And I am going to take some neutral gray, a little neutral gray down. I'm going to take my thinner brush and get some of that neutral gray on it. And get those berries. Hopefully without going too much. They're not berries. That's the bud of the plant, or the center of the plant. Sorry, I got quiet on you, and because I'm concentrating, and you can't just without talking. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually filming. I'm so bad. Another reason why I haven't gone live yet, because I have a tendency to get in my mind whenever I'm coloring. Yeah. And I am squeezing this to whenever I go to clean off the brush, That forces the ink out. Okay. This is drying relatively quick, and I think that's because my house is kind of dry. It's summer, and it's kind of it hasn't rained for a while, so it's kind of outside. I'm going to go with this Bark. I love the name of this pencil, Bark. And I'm going to put a little bit of bark. And I mean a little bit of bark. I'm going to take my really fine detail brush. Dip it into the bark. Because for some reason, Emily did not put a door handle. What's a door without a door handle? So I'm going to add a door handle. Or two. To the door. Only because I can. My art, my way. Okay, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to take some of the yellow that I've already got on my palette. And put that in the door jamb here, or the opening of the door, so it looks like there's sunlight. And I apologize for all my coloring friends. I am not going to try to do spilling light, or maybe I should. I don't know. Yeah. I have definitely gone over the lines here, which I should be able to correct once I start putting down the grass, but not if I go with this yellow. So I'm going to use the same yellow for this window. I believe this was the sun yellow. Or was it cadmium yellow? Cadmium yellow. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna put some of the yellow on there to on the green leaves, so that it's can show that it's yellow shining out. I need to step it up. And what I'm gonna do, the little flower on the cup, I'm gonna use the same red that I used, which is cherry red, or chili red, not cherry, chili red. I'm going to do flowers on the cups. And Mom, I've got this on my brush. So it gives them time to dry. I'm not doing a very good job at these babies, am I? Should have probably made these purple. Trying not to put my hand where I colored or got wet ink. The nice thing about Inktense is I went over some of these flowers with green accidentally with green, and I can cover that up with this red if the color is dark enough. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to try to put yellow over like a green. You'll just get lighter green. But if it's a darker color or you're putting it on more intense, yeah, you can cover up the what's underneath for the most part. So it just looks like the flower's a little darker there. And no, I'm not going to go shading for these. These are so small and tiny. I thought about pulling out the gel pens and doing these, but it's like, no, you said you were going to do this picture in Inktense, so Inktense it is. Believe it or not, I'm running out of the cherry red. Okay. This one, I keep saying cherry, and it's chili red. I had enough to do all of these, but apparently I didn't. Of course, I'm just using small amounts of the actual Inktense pencil, so which is kind of nice, because with the water you don't go through them as fast as you would like a regular pencil. So, and my paper's, it's curling a little bit, but for the most part the Nina paper is holding up really rather well. I have not done the background yet. I'll be honest, at this point I don't know what I'm going to do on the background, if I'm going to use the Inktense. I think that's going to be a little too much water for this paper to do the entire background. So I may just pull out my pastels and do the background with a light pastel. I know I'm way ahead of myself here, but this is my thought process. I think even though I'm still working on the picture, I'm trying to pulled together in my head, well, how are you going to do this? What are you going to use for this? What color are you going to do next? And I think most of us who color do that. I don't know, I may be totally and completely wrong on that front. But yes, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, but I'm also thinking ahead. And I'm looking at how as I said, the Nina paper at this point is really standing up and doing rather well on standing up to the color. But just not sure if I want to chance it with a large quantity of color all over. So my next one is this flower, and I think I'm going to go with Tangerine, which is a nice bright orange color. As I said, I kind of want this to be happy and cheerful, and that's my thought process. And before I go put that in, and grab a little bit of the yellow. And dot a little bit of this yellow. And this is the golden yellow. And at least get an initial dot of yellow down before I go full blast on the tangerine. Okay. And I start with the way I'm doing this is I start with one droplet of water and then push it up into where I've scribbled on the pad. I'm not sure if it's the way everybody does it. As I said, I'm doing what seems to be working best for me. You can learn a lot, but you gotta kind of figure out what works best for you. Where do you want your coloring journey to go? What do you want your picture to say? I will totally and completely admit to the fact that I am much better with faces than I am with flowers, and that at one time I could never imagine actually coloring a face, but yet they're my favorite thing to color. But you do need to branch out every once in a while, make you appreciate the doing the thing that you love, which for me is faces. I know there's people who find skin and faces daunting, but they are one of my favorite things to color. I like bringing faces to life and making them look real. Adding personality, or at least I try to add personality to my faces. I don't always succeed, but I do try. I enjoy that, but there's something to be said about just a simple, adorable picture, and the relaxation factor of doing a simple, adorable picture. And Emily Illustrator has a lot of adorable pictures. I have favorite artists, and I won't. And I love a lot of things about Emily, and the fact that she does these adorable pictures that just are fun to work with helps a lot. Some of them are more complicated than others. This one's a relatively simple one. Went over that yellow. I knew I was going to do that. But now they're just fun. I have just destroyed the yellow. I'm going to have to make that a different color to stand out. Okay. Now, I got one yellow bead left. Oh, total disaster. I forewarned you. Total disaster. I'm gonna go back to yellow's a little too thin. Back with my spark. Oh, that's too. I think I'm gonna go with madder brown. I thought I used this before, but I can't remember. Back with my smaller brush. I'm going to turn my paper towel because it's getting pretty wet where it's not actually drying off my brush, it's just kind of smearing it around. And while this madder brown is still dry, wet, not dry, I'm using the orange, the tangerine, and kind of blending, making it not so smacking the face brown. Adding more tangerine to my palette. This also gives me a chance to brighten up that tangerine that kind of got faded out there as it dried. So it's nice and bright. Because you know, orange flowers are always bright. Again, I have the madder brown, and I'm going to go along this line. Do a little shading. Way too much water there. Tangerine. See if I can correct that error with the massive quantities of water. Kind of spread it out, changing the color a little bit of the tangerine, making it a little more brown a little more dark. Let me get more flower-like. Well, it's got a boo-boo on the flower. Flowers are not perfect. You ever looked at a flower in the wild? It is not perfect in any stretch of the imagination. God love them. I think that's why flowers are so beloved by people, because they're not perfect. They're just like humans. They're not perfect. Again, that madder brown is still wet and pliable. I'm just kind of letting it run into, so I can, and I'm darkening up that the orange of this flower, making it stand out a little bit more. Now the Nina paper is starting to crinkle a little bit. Again, this one, Emily did not put lines, pre-existing lines, so I'm going to add my own. Going with the orange. Darken up that orange, make it more vibrant. Stand out a little bit more. So I've noticed that as the Inktense dries, they become a little bit more muted than what I thought they would. I thought they would be more brilliantish, but when ink dries, it mutes down, and I should have anticipated that, but I'm not complaining. I'm just making note. Again, adding a little shading with this brown. Let's see if I've got enough orange on my palette to finish this flower. There you go. And I think since I totally screwed up dots, I'm going to use that same brown for the little dots at the end of the can't remember what they're called. What's popping in my head is just not, I know it's not the right word, so I'm not even going to say it. Kind of feel like I'm not doing Emily's picture justice. I apologize to Emily in advance. I seem to not be, I'm kind of making a mess out of this. But I knew that was a possibility whenever I started. Okay. Now I'm going to take a moment and and I apologize. I did not realize how squeaky my chair was until I started filming. And it's like, oh my god, my chair is so squeaky. Did not realize that. It's like, oh. But it is the chair I have, and I'm gonna kind of clean off my palette here because I want to start anew. Ooh, pretty. I make a mess. If there's a mess to be made, Evelyn will make it, I'll tell you. I lost my cap for my bottle, so my best laid plans of, I got a bottle here with a cap on it so I won't spill it. Money's on me spilling it all over the floor. Okay. Reach down and grab the cap. Sorry about that. Because if I don't, I'm going to have a mess on my hands. Okay. Now, where to go to now? And my light went off on my camera there. Oh, more light. And I think my rechargeable light is dying. And I just looked. I think I'm gonna. I've done this much. I think I'm gonna put a hold on it, and I'll come back to finish this up. And doesn't seem like I've been coloring for 2 hours, but yeah, I have. So I'll do the rocks, which I've got to make a decision on how I want to do the rocks. Do the bottle cap, do the bushes, do the flower base, and do the top and the thing in the next video. So this will be it's going into part 3. So I will be back for part 3 here shortly. I'm going to let this dry a little. Maybe I may have to do some more work on the this flower. It's not turned out exactly how I want it. I may have to put a little yellow over it to get it more of the color I want it. But for right now, I'm going to let it go, and I will see you in the next part. Thanks. See you later. Bye. Thank you for watching.